Good afternoon, and welcome to another exciting episode of Jeffco Patriot Radio. Just after high noon in the Heartland here on Sunday, July the 12th, 2026. I believe we are closing in on about, 17 days, Billy Crow, until the August 4th primary. So let's see. We've got 19 days left in July, and then the 4 days. So, 23 days. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not math. I'm a talking guy.
Yeah,
I just talk for a living. I don't add.
Less than a month. That's the important.
We are well under a month to a very exciting and very important election here. We're going to talk about that. Got those giant ballot propositions on the ballot. Got a lot of important candidate races. We're going to talk to a couple of those candidates, I believe, this afternoon as well. And it's great to be back in studio with you. You and I have been like ships passing in the night the past many weeks, but here we are. The planets are aligned.
That's right.
And we're back in our overly ostentatious studios. If you're watching us, thank you so much. If you're listening to us, thank you as well for tuning in. We, of course, broadcast live every Sunday at noon. And, of course, the show is also broadcast on Jeffco Patriot Radio, the Facebook page. And then the podcast is always available at newstalkstl.com. If you're missing the show because you're running around, have no fear. The News Talk STL app is here. Just download the app for your phone. Yes, we do iPhone. Yes, we do those weird Android things. I don't understand those people, but we'll take them too.
Everybody's got a little brother, right?
Every true, yes, indeed. And that way, you'll never miss an episode of Jeffco Patriot Radio. Billy, there's lots going on in Jefferson County. We got to talk about 3 huge events. We have to talk to 2 candidates who are running for election. Do they both have primaries in August?
Yeah, they have primaries. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
We're going to talk to David Robertson, who's a candidate for state representative in the county of Jefferson, and then we're going to talk to Tim Bennett, who is he is currently on the county council.
He is currently on the county council. He was appointed. That's right. Yep.
Okay, I'm remembering all these things. He's running for his first full term.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So very important things to get to today. We also have an update from Representative Eric Burleson, one of the most conservative members of the U.S. House, member of the House Freedom Caucus, and one of my personal best friends. We served together in the Missouri House on data centers. We got to talk about flock cameras. We got to talk about central committees, all the non-controversial stuff, right?
That's right. That's what we're here for, right?
We dig our toes into every week. Billy, where would you like to get started?
Man, I think something that's been bugging me lately is the idea and the thoughts around central committees, right? I think those, like judge races on the ballot, are things people don't really think about, but they have huge ramifications that people don't realize, and people kind of need to dig into and understand who these people are and what they stand for.
A lot of people probably don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So each major political party in Missouri, as probably true in most states, Republicans and Democrats, have this political apparatus called central committees.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're basically in every county in the state of Missouri.
And they're broken up by townships, right? And if you look on Jefferson County's township map, you might look at it and go, well, those aren't really towns, but they are political subdivisions that have been set up by the state. This is all the state runs these, how these central committees are set up and how they're formed.
It's all however the parties set them up.
That's right.
You got your county central committees, Democrat and Republican, and then within that county, the counties are made up of townships.
That's right.
And so you have township committee men and committee women.
Yep.
And then my understanding is they then are all part of the county's central committee, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And they come together and they talk about party politics stuff. And when, let's say, if someone was to resign, or like we just had Ken Waller pass away, if the governor says, hey, we're going to have a special election, well, we don't go through all this primary stuff, right? These central committees pick out who your candidate is for the Republican committee, or for the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. And so when we think about what that means that this is the chance. If there's a special election, this is our only chance to put up representatives that are going to represent our values for who that candidate, what kind of Republican, in our case, Republican candidate that is going to be. Now, for the most part, it's been pretty consistent on who is and who is not on the Central Committee in Jefferson County. There's people that have been on there for many, many years, some that are a little newer. This year, though, with all this hubbub around Festus and data centers, there's been some people coming out of the woodwork that have decided they're going to run for Republican Central Committee. Now, have they ever been at any Republican events? Have they been out knocking doors for Republican candidates? Have they been participating in everything we have going on? The answer is no. Some of these even talk. Now, the one race in particular that is really chafing me, and I'll try not to name drop because I don't want to endorse anybody, but I can tell you who I'm not going to endorse. The gentleman there is very much against data centers, which is fine, except for the problem is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the big tenets of our party is property rights. And this gentleman just keeps wanting to trample on someone else's property rights just because it's a business, right? And who he's running against is a guy that has been in there for a long time. He's a good friend of mine. He's actually a Local 36 union member like myself. He was Republican before it was cool. Him and his wife, they marched in the parades. They got spat on when it was all
Everybody
Democrats.
knows this guy's a Republican because he's done Republican things for many years.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
And now
I don't even know who you're talking about, but I'm just suggesting that as maybe some criteria.
Yes.
Look, I understand. And the reason I'm asking Billy about these questions is I was never I was in the Missouri House of Representatives.
That's right.
Totally separate operation organization. I never did I've learned a lot about the whole township central committee thing along the way because I participated in things like caucuses and stuff. But most of us, even those of us in the political public policy world, we don't think much about what central committees do or don't do.
Right.
I would like most of them to be a little more active because a lot of times they're not. Some are, some aren't. But I guess the point, Billy, that you're trying to make is every election for every office, no matter what it might be, is important.
That's right.
And you should make sure who you're voting for and not just go, well, I like the name Bob Smith. That sounds good to me.
That's right. Fine. When you look for the Central Committee candidates, look for people that have been committed to Republican policies and politics, that have fought for them and advocated for them, that have been part of us turning this county from a blue county to a deep red county. Not just some Johnny-come-latelys that get all worked up about that are really just socialists.
The issue of the day.
That is exactly right. Pay attention to what they actually believe. So I'm going to leave it at that, and you guys can do your own research there because we got other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and look, and it doesn't mean necessarily that you agree or disagree with people all the time or not, but are they involved, right?
That's right.
Do they do Republican things? Do they go to Republican events? Do they help Republican candidates?
That's right.
Or are they someone who's just, got a sticker in their craw and they're mad about whatever the issue mob fad of the day is, and so then they're like, well, I'll fix everything. I'll just run for that and I'll show them.
That's right.
Without knowing whether or not this person is a true Republican or not. And if you're a Democrat, same thing.
That's right. Yeah.
If you're a Democrat, you want to elect real Democrats to your Democrat townships or your Democrat Central Committee. So that's why I'm a big fan. And we've been pushing this, Billy, for years, and we can never get enough people on board. I don't understand why closed primaries, where you have to identify as a Republican or a Democratic voter, and then that's the race that you vote in.
We actually have right now on Facebook one of the guys that is a avowed communist. He lets everyone know he's a communist. Right now, spouting on Facebook, hey, everyone pull a Republican ticket and vote against these people. So is that really what we want for the state of Missouri? The communists get to vote in Republican primaries?
I would think not. Hey, speaking of communists, our good friend, Representative Congressman Eric Burleson, came out with some very interesting news about communist China's influence over, guess what, Billy? American tech and American data centers. Now, wherever you are on this issue, I could probably understand, right? It depends on where you live, what's being proposed, how it's being conducted, just like with any development, right?
That's right.
There should be transparency. There should be accountability. Everyone should follow proper procedures. No big business or corporation should be given, in my opinion, any tax credits or tax abatement,
absolutely,
or tax or tax relief. But you should also know who's pushing some of this anti-American tech, anti-American data center propaganda. Well, Congressman Eric Burleson, who, by the way, is known as one of the most conservatives in the U.S. House. He's from Southwest Missouri. I served with him in the Missouri House. We're very good friends. He's also a member of the esteemed U.S. House Freedom Caucus. He came out with a big tweet storm this past week about a brand new report that was published by the Bitcoin Policy Institute. They're also known as very libertarian, conservatarian leaning folks, right? They're all about America's stuff and American ingenuity. Eric said he posted this report. The report is The report is, he's got it up at the top here. A China-linked network helped block or delay over $23 billion in U.S. data center projects. This is real. Ask if what you need online is Chinese propaganda. That was the report. And Eric asked 3 questions. He said, we've had data centers in Southwest Missouri for decades. Springfield Underground undercuts our utility rates and strengthens our grid. Now a new report by the Bitcoin Policy Institute confirms that a foreign-funded network is pushing to ban them. I won't let propaganda write Missouri's future.
That's right.
The congressman goes on to say, China wants the U.S. to fear the tech that keeps America number one. The Bitcoin Policy Report says a socialist network tied to a Shanghai CCP financier helped block $23 billion in U.S. AI data projects across 14 states. When we kill U.S. data centers, we do Beijing's job for them.
Bingo.
So look, you should have the same concerns about a data center project that you would have about a big box store going in, but you should not have any greater or any less.
That's right.
Everyone should be treated same on the same playing field and subject to the same rules and regulations. And you need to know where a lot of this opposition, you need to know where a lot of this foreign-funded opposition is coming from.
Well, I tell you what, when Eric Burleson opens his campaign account to a primary Josh Hawley, you let me know. I'll be the first to donate to that one for sure. But hey, we're talking about big data.
Yes.
One of the places of talking about what's at these data centers is data collected from flock cameras.
Okay.
Now, I was at an event last night where a county councilman candidate and a county executive candidate were asked about flock cameras, and it is really something that is kind of taking off in Jefferson County, and it almost feels like it's the next thing that these anti-data center people are going to try to gravitate towards to be the thing that they go, oh, this is why we can't have data centers. So I know you know a lot more about these things than I do, so tell us a little bit about
Maybe
them.
only a little bit more. I'm still investigating what the heck these things are. They kind of, I don't know if they've been around for a long time or a little bit of time. I have probably the same concerns that everyone has about them. I do not want the United States of America to become an Orwellian surveillance state.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, if this is a tool that law enforcement is using to capture the really bad guys for the really bad stuff they do, and it's not being used in violation of anyone's constitutional rights, well, law enforcement has all sorts of tools that they can use all the time. So my question is, where are these flock cameras being deployed and how are they being used? And is any of the information being retained in some sort of database, right?
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. As a lawyer, and I have been a prosecutor and I've been a defense attorney, so I've been on both sides of the coin here. And when you are in a public place, when you are on a public street, a public thoroughfare, a public area, I hate to tell you this, but your constitutional expectation of privacy is less than when you're in your home, your own property, your own driveway, your own ranch, your own castle, right? There's different levels. The law applies different standards depending on if you're out in public in a public place versus you're within the property line of your domain, or if you're in your vehicle. There's actually many different levels of expectations of privacy under the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution of the United States of America, adopted by a lot of our state constitutions and our state bills of rights as well. So it kind of all depends on, once again, how is the technology being utilized, in what way, where, when, and how.
Yeah, and you talk about the bad guys too, but Tim Winnie talked about the other day of a specific example where there was someone who has dementia that got in their vehicle and left, and their loved ones didn't know where they were. They were able to use the flock cameras to actually find this person who didn't know where they were.
Like when we have the Amber Alerts,
that's right, or the
Silver Alerts.
The Silver Alert. They were able to find this person in St. Charles County because of the flock cameras. Now, again, with freedom comes a little bit of insecurity, right? So it's just the balance of our freedoms versus our security right here.
Yeah, they were trying to deploy this technology. They were trying to utilize this technology in Arizona, in Tucson, in the Tucson area, trying to find Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie.
That's right.
And unfortunately, even though everybody is under the assumption that these cameras are everywhere and they see all and know all, apparently they didn't in that case.
Right.
So again, it all depends. Lawyers, I could do a whole seminar on this. It's the time and place usage and restrictions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be very similar to you driving on a public highway and someone flying overhead in a law enforcement aircraft, and they see you swerving all over the place. They're going to radio down. They're going to pull you over. That is perfectly legal,
right?
Just because it was, we always talk about the eye in the sky.
That's right.
You're on a public thoroughfare,
right,
which means you're subject to the rules of the road and subject to, your rights kind of end where somebody else's begin.
Sure.
And so when you're in a public space or a public thoroughfare, different rules apply than if law enforcement was improperly spying on you without a warrant on your property or even in your vehicle, Billy.
Sure.
There's different levels of privacy there as well. All right. We're going to have to get to some of these events in the next couple segments. Maybe we'll take one or two right as we dive into our guests. We got two great guests here today. They're both candidates for office. We're going to speak to David Robertson next. He's running for state representative in the county of Jefferson. And then we're going to talk to Tim Bennett, who's running for a full term on the Jefferson County Council. I don't know why he wants to sit next to you. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Well, he's on the other end of the dais.
Okay, there you have it. All that and more on what's a very jam-packed full episode of this weekend's edition of Jeffco Patriot Radio, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome back to our second segment of a very exciting episode of Jeffco Patriot Radio, where we calculated it out, Billy. We got our abacus out, and we're somewhere around 23 days or so from the all-important August 4th primary. Number one, folks, Billy and I want to remind you to vote.
That's right. We need higher turnout than just 10 to 15%. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, given the fact that we have servicemen and women around the world right now putting their lives on the line so we can retain all these awesome constitutional rights that we just celebrated last weekend as a part of America's 250th anniversary, can we please go show them that we appreciate that service? Everybody should be voting. As Billy said, we got to really up the ante on this abysmal voter turnout we always have. And there's very important items on the ballot this year. Amendment 4, Amendment 5. There's two other constitutional amendments that are, in my opinion, a little bit less urgency, but there are four of them. There's four constitutional amendment proposals. There's candidate races. There's very important decisions that are going to be made in barely 3 weeks. So you need to make sure you vote. If you're going to be out of town on vacation, every county in Missouri allows a period of time of no excuse absentee voting, about, I think, 2 weeks ahead of the schedule. And you just go to your county website, Billy, right?
That's
Jefferson
right.
County's clerk's website, and you can do it there. Billy, a couple quick events before we get David Robertson talking here. The Pirate Party at Four Brothers Mead.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. They do a lot of cool events there. They had the Viking event there one time. We talked about that. But Saturday, July 18th, from noon to 9, they're on Festus Main Street at 124 East Main Street at Four Brothers Mead. They're going to have their annual Pirate Party, right? They're going to have live music from 3 Pints Gone, from 3 to 7. They're going to include their famous moose song. Not sure what that is, but I'm excited to hear that because, I mean, if it's a famous song about a moose, I'm here for it, right? Guests are encouraged to dress in theme. So please come prepared, dressed in theme. And the Brunch Box food truck will be there serving food from noon until they are sold out.
The Pirate Party at Four Brothers Mead. That will be a fantastic event Saturday, July 18th. That's this coming weekend, believe it or not. And finally, the Jefferson County Candidates Forum. We got a candidate standing right in between us here. I bet he'll be at this event. Billy, tell us what's happening on Thursday, July 23rd.
Yeah, the Jefferson College and the Growth Association get together and they put on this candidate forum. I participated in it 2 years ago. It's pretty low key as far as it's not a debate or anything like that. They just ask the candidates some questions. That's going to be Thursday, July 23rd. Hey, that's my mother-in-law's birthday. 2026 from 6 to 9 p.m. there at the Jefferson College in their Little Theater Arts Building, room ASI 119. And again, that is 1000 Viking Drive there in Hillsboro, Missouri. They're going to have Republican and Democratic candidates there and one Libertarian candidate, which she's just a Democrat and Libertarian clothing. So be forewarned. But that'll be an exciting time.
Indeed. Let's get right to one of the fellows who's probably going to be at that candidate forum. He is David Robertson. David, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
So I bet you're counting the days down at this point in time.
I am as well. Yes, I know that number well. Yeah.
David, remind the folks who you are, how long you've been in Jefferson County, why you decided to run for state representative.
Yeah, so that's a lot of questions. So yeah, I've lived in Jefferson County not that long, but I've lived in the St. Louis area about 20 years. reasons why I decided to run. A number of things. I was a professor at a college, and that college I was at, there were some changes that happened there under COVID. There were mandates, vaccine and mask mandates took place, and it was through the governor of Illinois, Democrat, who's not a great guy, obviously, but and I thought that was wrong. So I stood up and protested that. I confronted the college president about that, wrote a letter of protest, asked the college to acknowledge religious exemptions. They didn't. So I ended up actually resigning from a very good job. And that was kind of one thing that spurred me on to decide to run for office. I felt like the whole COVID era was an egregious violation of our constitutional rights, as I'm sure we all agree. And then I have been doing things in the conservative grassroots for quite a while. So I worked for 2 governors' campaigns, also created an email list called We the People of Missouri, used to advertise patriotic events, to the first St. Louis Medical Freedom March. And I've been doing a lot of things in the grassroots, and I finally decided to run for office. One of the things I'll mention too is I had the opportunity to knock doors for Turning Point while Charlie was still with that organization for the 2024 presidential election. It was a great thing. They flew us out, hired us for a month, and people out there said, you really need to run for office when you go back to Missouri. So that was kind of like the final straw. I've been considering it, and then people encouraged me to do it. So I thought, I'm going to go for it. So that's what led to that.
So when we first met you, you had decided to run against Mary Elizabeth Coleman and try to primary her, which I 1000% agree that she should not be there. Again, she doesn't even live in the district. There's a difference between not living there long and not living there at all. So let's just start there. But then after that, so what led to you decide to go from that to District 97 against incumbent David Castile?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there were a series of events. Mary Elizabeth Coleman decided not to run for re-election. I think it was in March of 2025. And then David Castile, who's now my opponent, decided, so he's the current state rep for District 97. He decided to run for that open state Senate seat. Okay. And that left an open House seat in District 97. So then in late April, I decided to switch races to that House seat because it was an open seat. So I figured that'd be a better chance of winning. And so that's when I ran for that seat. And then David Castile dropped out of the state Senate race. I think it was late August. So he then re-entered the House race. So that's why we're at the place we're at right now. And I think there's one Republican candidate left in the state Senate race.
Yeah. You've learned in politics that nothing is for sure until it absolutely happens, right?
Right. There's a lot of changes and adjustments to take place.
Indeed. So David, as you've been out campaigning, what did you decide your platform would be? What issues are you talking to voters about?
Yeah, my basic platform, kind of the 2 pillars of my campaign, is really to restore the founding fathers' vision of limited government. I think our government's gotten way too big. We're taxed too much. And I feel like if the founders showed up today, they'd be appalled at the state of our government. So it's to go back to what they gave us because it works. And my other issue is to return government to serving the interests of the citizens, not special interests and lobbyists. I think there's a lot of money that gets thrown around in Jefferson City or in Washington, D.C., and a lot of our representatives, both Republicans and Democrats, to a large extent are controlled by their donors. So I want to return the priority to serving the citizens, not the special interests and lobbyists. So that's kind of yeah.
You bring up that fact, and I appreciate that. And this wasn't on our questions here, but a lot of candidates, when they've come in, there's usually some hubbub on Facebook that I kind of give them a chance to kind of clear the air about, right? Sure. So one of the things, you talk about special interest groups and things like that, one of the things that you brought up on a Facebook post was about labor unions. Now, you said you haven't lived in Jefferson County long. Like, labor unions are a huge part of Jefferson County. They are conservative. We are pro Second Amendment. We are pro life, right? We vote traditionally red. And so there is this feeling out there that you might not be for labor unions. And again, part of that, you're talking about like these, them being a special interest group and paying for candidates and things like that. But as a union member, I'm proud that my labor organizations give money to Republican candidates because they support my interests. So, let's just give you a chance to clear the air there. Of what you were meaning, if you were meaning that by the statement, and how you feel like that jives with the values of Jefferson County.
So yeah, I'm very much pro labor in the sense of people work, everyone should work with your hands. I built my own cabin by hand, so I know about some things about construction. That post, I think, was very much misunderstood because I was referring to a single union that I thought was left wing. If I was wrong about that, I apologize for that. I was actually referring to a single labor union, and somehow that got misinterpreted to saying all labor unions are left wing, which is certainly not what I believe.
Sure.
So I have friends in labor unions. I know that's not true. So I just want to clear that up, that was a misunderstanding. And it probably wasn't the greatest post on my part, but people interpreted that I was talking about all the unions. It was just one particular union.
Yeah, yeah. And again, to kind of piggyback with that, one of the knocks that people will have against you, and we've talked about this before, is not living here long, maybe not feeling like you really know the community, and they felt like this post was an example of that. So like, kind of tell us your thought of like what you feel like the community of Jefferson County, and particularly the 97th district, like what are the values you feel like of that community?
Well, yeah, and I want to address that certainly everyone grows up somewhere. So you have certain candidates who grew up in their district, other ones who may have grown up somewhere else. And I respect that. The thing about running for office, I feel like when I think about who I'm going to vote for, I'm voting for someone where I share their political viewpoints, their philosophy of government. That's really why I vote for someone, not where they're from. Although again, I respect where everyone's from. I'm from somewhere. So there's a natural kinship when you're from somewhere. I understand that. But I think a very much better reason to vote for someone is because their vision of government is shared. If you look at people who support, like when I supported Bill Eigel for governor, I don't really care where he's from. I hear him speak and I say, okay, his values align with mine. And I'm running for a state house position. So while it relates to Jefferson County very much, it's also voting on statewide legislation. So that legislation is going to affect the entire state. I've been involved in state politics for like 10 years, so I know a fair amount about it. And that's why I decided to run for a state house position. I just want to get better government. I feel like we have a lot of Republicans in Jefferson City. The state budget has more than doubled in the last 10 years. So under Republican leadership, now there can be debates about why that is. So I look at what's going on in Jefferson City and I want to reinstill conservative principles there, principles based off the founding fathers. When I see the budget grow that much, that's one issue for me. If we can reduce the budget, reduce taxation, get conservative legislation done. I think I felt frustrated because in some cases, there's been a failure to get conservative legislation done in Jefferson City with Republican supermajorities. So that was really what motivated me to run. I've been following Missouri politics for a while. And the other thing is, the beauty of our constitutional republic is any citizen, can decide, hey, I'm going to run for a position. Our founders never intended to have career politicians. They intended people to come out of the private sector, feel called to run for office in whatever capacity they felt was proper, and then go back to the private sector.
David, as you know, I do a lot of work for Americans for Tax Reform. The founder of that is the great Grover Norquist, came out of the Reagan Revolution. And I've been at Grover's big meetings that he has every single week in Washington, D.C. A lot of candidates for federal office come before those meetings. And I've learned to ask the question that Grover always asks them: where are you on the three of the biggest issues that you will confront in Jefferson City? Where are you on taxes, guns, and babies?
Oh, wow. So definitely pro Second Amendment. No restrictions or very little. If you look at, one thing I took a Constitution class from David Barton, and I taught that class for a little while. One thing I was amazed at is if you go back and look at the quotations of the founders on guns, they would basically say anyone who questioned the right to defend yourself was a traitor to this republic. So I was even shocked myself at how gung-ho they were on the Second Amendment. Very much that's for protecting ourselves from a tyrannical government. I'm very much pro-life. Life is one of the inalienable rights given to us by God, so I believe life begins at conception. I'm against abortion in all of its forms. I'm a big proponent of lower taxes. And to me, that's coupled with smaller government. As a conservative, as a constitutionalist, I believe our government should be limited. And if you have less government, you have less government to fund. I think if our founders showed up today, they'd be appalled at the number of taxes we have. Sales tax, income tax, personal property tax, real estate tax, and gas tax. I think we're taxed too much. We have too big a government.
Yeah, I think Missouri has more taxes than most other states because we have more taxing jurisdictions than most other states.
Yes, that seems to be the case. Yeah.
So we're kind of going to run short on time here. We got two more questions for you. The first one is going to be, let's say the voters elect you. What's the one thing you want the voters to say that, yep, David Robertson got this done in his first term?
I mean, there's a few things. So I would like them to say that did my best to shrink the size of government, to also reduce their taxes, also to stand with the Constitution. Our state constitution, for instance, has a single subject requirement. So all bills should be a single subject. I see a lot of bills that take place there where you'll have one topic and then something totally unrelated is thrown in. And I would like to be a staunch conservative and constitutionalist and say we shouldn't be voting on these omnibus bills. We should keep them clean and pure so that we actually understand, have a single subject bill. Yeah. So
right. And lastly, if folks want to find out more about you or you got any events coming up, things like that, where can they reach you at?
Plug away.
That's
so,
right.
And we do have our final campaign rally. It's a Race to the Finish Line rally taking place. Actually, it's on Thursday, August 23rd. July 23rd, Thursday night. It's going to be at the Rocking J Ranch. So if you are inclined, if you'd like to come out and celebrate our campaign, come on out. We're going to have a lot of different kinds of food and entertainment. And the website is Robertson for Missouri, spelled out. So ROBERTSON for spelled out Missouri.com. We've got a lot of good information there. We have a really good website with a lot of videos, a lot more detail on my specific platform and my motivation for running, some family background. My dad was a World War II veteran. So that had actually a lot to do with what shaped me and why I decided to run for office.
Well, thank you for answering all of our questions. Sure. We hit you from both sides, literally and figuratively. We got through a lot of material, so hope folks have learned quite a bit from this last 15 minutes or so, and we appreciate you coming in, and good luck as you go back out on the campaign trail.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. That's David Robertson. When we come back, our final segment, last but definitely not least, this is very important as well because this is government very close to you in Jefferson County. This is your Jefferson County Council. Tim Bennett was appointed to an open seat. He's running for a full term. We're going to ask him why and what he would like to see happen under his watch next on Jeffco Patriot Radio. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome back to our third and final, but a very important segment of Jeffco Patriot Radio. All three segments are always important. Right after this show, St. Charles Patriot Radio follows us. You want to stand by for that to hear what's going on with our brothers and sisters to the north. In the meantime, we're going to continue with another candidate for office. We're going to speak to Tim Bennett in just a moment, but we have a third event to tell you about. We told you about the Pirate Party at Four Brothers Mead coming up this coming Saturday, July 18th. We've got the Jefferson County Candidates Forum on Thursday, July 23rd. And Billy, last but not least, we have the Jefferson County. I can't believe it's fair time already. Yeah. Jefferson County Fair. Tell us all about this one.
Oh man, this is going to be an exciting year because it is the fair's 80th anniversary.
Whoa.
So it has been around a long time. So that is going to be Thursday, July 23rd through Sunday, July 26th. 4 days of awesomeness there at the fairgrounds on 21 there, right there in the heart of Hillsboro. It's going to be, like I said, 80th anniversary. They're going to have the Budweiser Clydesdales out there this year. Lots of activities, motorsports, live music. We're going to have pig racing.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Are you not going to ride the pigs?
I mean, I kind of hope so, but I'm afraid it's going to end up being like something like they did at Eckert's where it's the little pigs. I mean, it would be awesome if it was like the big sows.
Yeah, we need the big hogs.
I think so.
Indeed.
I think so. So they're going to have the carnival stuff there, and they're going to have music. Chris Jansen will be performing live there Friday.
I like Chris Jansen. That's a good get.
And you know what? The Jefferson County Fair has done such a great job. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, they always got great headliners. You have Charlie Daniels band there. You have Journey there. You had REO Speedwagon. I mean, you had some real big names there, and they continue that legacy on this 80th anniversary. And so
remember when Ted Nugent was in town?
Yeah, absolutely. And so back, more information is available at jeffersoncountyfair.net. Way to throw me for a loop there.
Yep. Sweaty Teddy, Motor City Madman. Yeah, damn Yankees, one of my favorite bands.
Right.
Let's get to our next guest. He is Tim Bennett, and for whatever reason, you haven't driven him away yet from the county council, Billy. I mean, you must have been really nice to him or something. So,
well,
Tim,
like he said, I'm on the other side of the dais.
Yeah, you stay away from him. Yeah,
well,
very wise.
So seriously, when he was thinking about seeking the appointment, he says, "What do you think?" And I go, "Well, I'll tell you like this. As a friend, as a friend, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but
I'd like to have you as a colleague.
But as a colleague, we need good people. So yes, please put your name in the ring."
Well, Tim, before we talk about your campaign for election, what's the experience been like so far on the county council?
So far, it's not bad. It's a lot of fun staying away from this guy, on the other end down there. It's, a lot of things that I didn't really realize trying to go in. I've spent a lot of time focusing on the city race. Ran for city council before I came out to the county to try and do that. So it same but different, right? Larger scale, same issues, same things you're dealing with, just a little bit more of a larger scale, more people involved, obviously. But having a good time doing it.
Yeah. So, Tim, last time we had you on here, we introduced you to the folks. What has campaigning been like? I mean, it's been a long, hot summer already. How has the campaign been going for you?
It's busy, man. We've been putting out signs. We've been knocking doors. Just overall sweating, blood, tears, all of it, man. It's just it's been crazy. But,
one of the things that I always enjoy is talking to people at the doors, because I think David Robertson said it, or either last segment or between segments here, about, people are just going about their daily lives. They're not like the policy cranks like we are. And so it's very interesting to hear like what they have to say. Like anytime I've got like an issue I'm like so in the weeds, I'm so passionate about, I call my aunt because I know she hasn't heard any of it. And I just want to see what she's picking up from the internet and the local media. What are some of the things that have surprised you as you've gone door to door?
Just the amount of humbleness from people. There's people we have a lot of negative come our way a lot of times, and you don't really get a whole lot of the good most of the time. It's just a lot of the negative things.
You don't hear from the silent majority a whole lot, do you?
No, you don't. You don't. But that's the thing, right? The silent majority doesn't speak out on Facebook because they're silent. But when you're in there and you're when you're there, you're having that intimate conversation with them at their doorstep, or sometimes they invite you in, and those are the long conversations, and those are the good ones to have, right? Because those are the people that are really interested in what's going on, really want to know what's going on, and want to talk to you about it. They feel like they're not heard because they don't go blasting everything on Facebook and social media. So they just it's nice,
So I understand you're in a fairly crowded primary. Is that right? How many folks in total running for the seat?
In total, there's 5.
Whew, my goodness.
There's 4 on the Republican side.
4 in the Republican primary. Yep. Okay. So how are you differentiating yourself? Like, what issues are you focusing on when you're speaking with folks at events or as you're knocking doors?
So ultimately, it always comes back. What's your view on data center? Well, I don't have one yet. We haven't been proposed one, so we're not, I'm looking at them. I'm getting as much information as I can about it, but I don't know where I stand on it necessarily just yet. Public safety, that's huge.
Is that coming up a lot?
Public safety is one of the number one things that I hear. They want to know, response times, stuff like that. We need to have, I would like to see the sheriff's office get more deputies on the road, lower response time. Festus needs a new firehouse. We just had, a fire there in the city. We lost some fur friends and stuff. So a second firehouse would definitely help out with that. It was on that side of town where we would like to see another firehouse go. So, we're hoping that we can get all that stuff accomplished, but that's the number one thing I hear about.
Yeah. I mean, if a government, especially a local government, cannot protect the rights, the property, and the well-being of its citizens, it's failed that first test. Kind of like what we've seen in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you don't have the people there to answer the calls, or if they can't get there in a timely manner and stuff, people feel let down, and I'd like to see that change. It needs to change.
So when it comes to, you talk about response time and public safety, you've got a background in law enforcement. What is it the response times you feel like are the things that, as far as safety goes, that they feel like is the biggest concern? Because I know up in my district, right, for a lot of us, for a lot of folks up there, they're worried about St. Louis County coming down into Jefferson County, creating havoc and going back to, the city, not necessarily the county.
Sure.
Is there any of that kind of coming out in your area too?
Oh, it was running rampant when I was, when I was working for the city of Festus. I mean, they did a news segment. I can't remember the news anchor, but he came out and we did a thing right there in one of the subdivisions because they were coming in and they were looting cars and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, the gangs.
Yeah. And the thing about it is one of the things we really need to look at too is how the juvenile system works, because that's what a lot of them are. It's the juveniles. They come down, they do all these things because they know that, you can't do anything to me. I'm a juvenile, So I think that needs to be revamped. That needs to be looked at and stuff. There's a lot more. I feel there's a lot better way. I I don't know exactly what that way is just yet, but I'd really like to look into it.
Well, and I think even the new mayor of the city of St. Louis, Kara Spencer, she's a Democrat, but I'll give credit where it's due. She obviously knows that's a problem as well, and is imposing things like curfews and trying to step up more police presence at certain events and things like that. So I think everybody in the region, we had to get rid of some bad apples in office. We've done that. And I think everybody in the region, no matter who they are, they all want, Republicans and Democrats want to feel safe.
Absolutely. You know, everybody wants to talk about that small town feel or that hometown feel, or, you know, I want to be able to leave my house and leave my door unlocked and know that nobody's going to go in there and mess with it, right? That's what we're all after. Regardless if you live in St. Charles, St. Louis, Jefferson County, we all want that security at the end of the day. And that's what we're trying to get to.
You know, is with that, the people coming down from St. Louis City and County, and a lot of people attribute that to 55, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously 55 is a huge piece of the economy of the Jefferson County region. And right now, particularly in your district, there's been a lot of revamping of that infrastructure. So when it comes to infrastructure in the county, like what are some of the biggest problems you've heard at door knocking, or you've seen yourself that you, let's say, yes, this is something we need to address?
Right. So, like you said, the infrastructure, you know, with the expansion of the highways and the more traffic that comes through, the infrastructure should follow, right? Because with the infrastructure, then comes the businesses and the economic development and all that stuff to go with it. You know, I know you remember back in our high school days, Highway 21, that's supposed to be to Potosi by now.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it has stopped at B Highway. Well, that has killed the city of Hillsborough.
Absolutely.
It has completely rerouted all the traffic around it, right? Granted, was it needed? Absolutely, because traffic was a nightmare coming through town, right? Very small town. You get all that traffic. School lets out. Oh, man, it was terrible, right?
Yeah.
I could walk to school faster than we could drive there.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it has destroyed that town.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and why hasn't it gone down where it's supposed to be by now? Why hasn't the infrastructure followed it down? And then where's the development?
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good point, because so many times we talk about this infrastructure bringing in development, bringing in growth. Yet in some cases, like what it's done there in Hillsborough, it's allowed a community to be bypassed, right? And there hasn't been any there hasn't been anything to care for that and heal that community from everything they've lost. If it wasn't for the courthouse, I'm not sure it would be there.
Well, you know, Hillsborough's the county seat. That the courthouse is there, the jail's there, Jefferson College is there.
Yeah.
We are a college town.
Yeah.
We have, you know, there are kids coming from across the world.
That's
to
right.
Jefferson College, right? They come from across the different continents to come to Jefferson College. Why is that town dying?
Yeah.
What can we do to get it rebuilt and bring it back? You know, I trying to bring the family aspect in, right? I related to that movie Cars. When the interstate when the interstate went in, the new Route 66, it just bypassed that town and it just destroyed it. And I feel like Hillsborough, if we don't do something about it, is gonna suffer the same fate.
So expanding upon that issue, where are you in general on the general issue of development? Like when people ask you about, you know, development, what kinds of development? What kinds of development do we want? What kinds of development do we not want?
Right.
Where in general are you on the development of the future of the county?
Well, what's the buzzword, Billy?
Transparency? Or?
No. Strong development or
smart
development. There it is.
Yes.
Smart development. We want smart development.
Okay.
So it means what does that mean exactly, right? Yeah. It's a good buzzword. It's a good phrase for any politician running for office to want to talk to people. To me, it means bringing something to town that benefits the town, benefits the county, provides work, provides the necessary things that our county needs, that our residents need to grow and actually want to stay here, right? So we don't lose our towns, so our towns don't get bypassed. We need the draw. What's the draw? And I think that's what that is.
So you could have jobs in the county versus people migrating in and out of the county every day to go to jobs elsewhere.
Yeah. So going back, I was a union floor layer for a lot of years, and I had to actually, like, when my son was born, he went into the NICU. He was in the NICU for about 45 days after he was born. Well, at that time, I was working a union job. Well, I was traveling a lot. like out of state travel. You know, I was working in Rhode Island and Massachusetts and Florida and like all up and down the coast. And I ultimately ended up having to quit because I can't continue to leave my wife at home in the hospital with my child, or, you know, to leave my newborn son at home in my just alone. I can't do it. And I personally couldn't do it anymore. So that was my second venture back into law enforcement, and it's been a blessing. It really has. You know, I'm very strong union. I was raised in a union household, all those things. But if we can't bring that here to the county, we're not doing enough for our residents.
Yes.
No, I think that's great. I mean, you and I both, Hillsborough, like the number one thing was everybody was like, I can't wait to get out of here.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get out of here.
It's an attitude we need to change.
Absolutely.
And the state as a whole.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because if you look at the last many decades, Missouri hasn't lost a lot of population or growth, but we haven't gained it either.
That's right.
And our seven, I always say seven because our eighth bordering state is Illinois, and the People's Republic doesn't count because they're just a giant sucking sound outwards. But our other 7 border states have been growing rather dramatically.
That's right.
While Missouri's been a little stuck in neutral.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and that needs to change. It really does, because we need. It just needs to come here. Why are we sending all this tax dollars everywhere else? Why can't we develop our area to get that in here? You know, why can't we help our citizens like everybody else around us is doing?
Well, I know back when I was a kid, you go to Walmart over in Festus if you wanted to see somebody you haven't seen in a while, they wouldn't pick up their phone. Nowadays, you go to South County and go to Costco if you haven't seen anybody for a few days. They're probably there, and those are our hard-earned tax dollars being spent in St. Louis County. Well, real quick, any events coming up or ways people can find out about you?
All the events are done. I'm out door knocking right now. Facebook. Tim Bennett for Tim Bennett for County Council District 5. Vote Tim Bennett at gmail.com. But we're out there. We do a lot of social media stuff. I'm out and about all day. Spend a lot of time at Walmart and Festus. So.
Well, good luck to you the next 3 weeks or so on the campaign trail.
Thank you much.
And we hope we'll be able to speak with you again soon.
I hope so.
That's Tim Bennett. He's running for County Council. What's the district number again?
5.
District number 5. County Council District number 5. Tim Bennett running for that seat. Remember, folks, the election is in barely 3 weeks. It is Tuesday, August the 4th. If you're going to be out of town on vacation, you can vote before you depart. Make sure you do. Billy, I think we had a jam-packed show today. It was all good stuff.
Absolutely.
We'll be back next week. Another exciting episode of Jeffco Patriot Radio, St. Charles Patriot Radio, coming up next here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.